that view and not having to just use berms and bushes like we see throughout Route 1 in different towns. You actually have great walkable streetscapes. Here you can see another road connection. There's actually a picture on top of it, but a road connection that we heard some people on that street were excited about, and other people said no way. But there's a great spot, a logical location to go through, and you can start to see what it might look like at this point along Route 1. So looking at 2 lanes of traffic, one going this way, the other coming this way, on-street parking. Then we have here on the other side, there's actually a separated small median. Then there's what's called a cycle track, where the bicycles are separated from the moving traffic by that, as well as hidden behind the parked cars. There's street trees, and then on the other side of the cycle track are wide sidewalks where pedestrians would walk safely, and you can begin to see, instead of just strip centers pushed back from the road, you begin to have really interesting 2-story, in some cases 3, and those are some of the things we'll talk about more as we explore what to do with the character-based zoning ordinance, because we heard that you currently have a 35-foot height limitation right now, and as we look at the zoning, we talk more about number of stories, as I mentioned the other night, and we've heard there's sort of a threshold of 3.5 to 4 stories, feels pretty good, feels like it's in keeping with the character of the rest of the town. But you can start to see what that looks like. And then also still some 1-story, because we know that there's not necessarily, at least right now, a huge market for a lot of development to happen. So wanting to allow that flexibility for the landowners to be able to do that, but not in the form of conventional suburban development. Here you can start to see in more detail some of the ideas. This is another portion of the Route 1 where we're looking at doing a multi-way path. So it's a combination of sidewalk and bicycle way, but it's extra wide, so there's plenty of room, and you can see the parked cars and the lanes moving here and here. And the thing that's interesting about having the median in the middle that's planted is that your right-of-way varies quite a bit along the entire length of Route 1, and so you actually can take up extra space or skinny up the median as is necessary to accommodate for that. And so these are all things that would be in the new zoning as we look at the character of the street. Moving down to the other end, where you come off of 295, we are imagining that there's some opportunities to, this is actually North Road here, so we're looking at, instead of having to come down here and turn back around, actually extending North Road through and seeing about starting to tie this amazing garden center that you have right up to that, and rearranging some of the things that they have going on, giving larger parking here that could be shared parking for other uses. But the key is sort of solving some of the traffic issues that are caused right now by having to come down and turn and then come this way. And so we've again regularized the intersection. This was the road that used to come through here. So we've turned this up, and these meet at a 90-degree angle, or if you need to go to 295, you just can carry on, or you come in this way. So that's pretty interesting. And then moving down, here's the Hannafords, and looking at what to do with Hannafords, because it's sort of your largest box that you have right now on the corridor, but well loved. I mean, it seems like everyone in town shops there, and they have a lot of parking lot that has a lot of opportunities to do some things. And so we were looking at a way to begin to start to utilize that parking lot in a much more efficient way, show some development in there, so this actually becomes a really cool place instead of just the entrance into the parking lot. And then also on the other side, looking at the tire depot, and showing an opportunity for, again, I'll show you more in detail in a minute, but the Walgreens proposal, the Walgreens was set back, and so we're showing literally the same footprint of a Walgreens. We're pulled up to the street with additional buildings here, and we've now pulled this idea across the street, and so we've dealt with some of the transportation and traffic issues. I know that there was a lot of concern during the Walgreens initiative from the neighbors and residents that were down here about how the character of the street would change, and so we're trying to look at some ideas for what to do with that connection and make sure we haven't impacted that in a negative way. Here's what the cycle track that I mentioned before. Here's an idea of that. Again, showing the medians. Here's the cycle track, the sidewalk, the parked cars, the moving travel lanes. And here's what these can look like from the street level. These are more urban places than you have here, but they're examples of cycle tracks. And then what does the Hannaford's look like? So here's Route 1 coming through. Here's Hannaford's transformed. Here's their parking still. Here's McDonald's. You have these great civic spaces pulling you in to this. It could be office uses, commercial uses on the ground floor, even people living above. And then here's the drugstore or whatever it needs to be, showing an illustrative drive-through here so you can turn in and actually pick up your drugs there on the corner. It probably happened farther in the parking lot, but to get it in the view, we pulled it to the edge there a little bit.
Actually, that plan was discarded.
A plan that had a Walgreens was discarded, yes. Absolutely. This is completely different than that, and I'll show you in a minute more about that. So here, looking at the probably the most talked about portion of the plan, what to do about the node in the middle, how to make that a real place. Looking at the idea, some people have said, Route 1 is a real barrier right now from one side to the other. Let's think about really connecting through and bringing the bridge down was one of the ideas that came out. So we wanted to see what that looked like, to figure out what that would mean, and if you could do it without wrecking what you've got, because we had a lot of people say, well, I don't want Route 1 to be anywhere near Main Street. Have you seen Main Street? Have you seen Route 1? And I said, if Route 1 stays as it is, absolutely not. Do not even consider getting rid of the bridge. Now, an interesting point was made at the interim pinup. The bridge that's there now will be due for replacement at some point in the not so distant future. The bridge that you get will likely not be like the bridge you have now. It will likely be an interstate overpass bridge with the green I-beams, and you know what it looks like. And yes, you can still hang banners off of that, but it will have a massively different feel as you go through that area. So we wanted to see if we could take this idea of transforming Route 1 into a walkable street, into so we don't think about it as a speedway, a freeway, or anywhere that Mr. Wheeler is going to be driving, and look at pulling it down and creating an amazing civic space. So like in the Common in Brunswick, where the road sort of widens out and you have this interesting long sort of town common, here we have that as you move on one way around on Route 1 and the other way here. But at the intersection, actually looking at Town Hall as having the real, the proper town common there. You guys have a space out there now, and I know during Clam Fest, little booths go out there. And so what we're thinking about is actually, we hear it gets kind of tight, and it'd be great to have some more of those. So what happens is, because of the network of streets that we've created, it's likely that you could, if you got permission, and we hear they do it elsewhere on Route 1, literally close down this segment of Route 1. So everything happens, all the parade can go through. You actually have more spaces now for the little kiosks to go. And then you have the library, the town hall, and we're showing these all the red buildings are civic. So we're showing some additional civic buildings starting to define the space around that green so that it doesn't just bleed off. And then we've prepped outside of our study area and started to show how you could, this is I guess where the Dunkin' Donuts is and some of those things, where there's the parking lot in front, and it's certainly not in keeping with the rest of the character of Main Street. Even though it's not terrible, it's just different. You've lost the buildings over there, and now there's something else in its place. And so here you can start to see parking what happened in the rear. Buildings will be pulled up to the corner, and we've done some cool things with that. Another thing we're looking at, not being so radical, because sometimes these things, you can dream big and it doesn't happen. This is actually Main Street and Route 1 here, and here is the library and town hall, and no, did I get this backwards? Sorry, there we go. Thanks. So the idea is to, rather than having the street come in and having to have both of these little exits, you actually can do a T intersection here, and this can go away. This ground can be reclaimed from the pavement, and then you have the intersection coming in here, and this shows actually keeping the bridge. But our transportation engineer built this model. These are real cars. These are using real